Hey there everyone. So OpenAI has released GPT 5.2. So this has happened after they have announced code red in their company. This was their way of telling, okay, we are panicked from Gemini 3 and Opus 4.5. We have to do something. And after that, we have this model. So, how good is it? In this video, we are going to find out just that. We'll be comparing GPT 5.2, which is towards my extreme left, Gemini 3 Pro preview, that is towards the center, and Opus 4.5, that is towards the right. Let's have some fun with these models and, try some coding stuff, simulation stuff, Python stuff, and see how these models compare. But before we move on, I want to thank this video's sponsor, Lazy Typer. I know that name sounds catchy, but more on them later in this video. Let's talk about these three models now. So if you look at GPT 5.1's pricing, you can see it was $1.25 per million input tokens and $10 per million output tokens. Very similar to what it has been with all OpenAI models. And the context length was 400k context. But this has changed now. Now the updated pricing is $1.75 per million input tokens and $14 per million output tokens. The context length is same, but we do see a price increase. If you look at Gemini 3 Pro, Gemini 3 Pro has a flexible pricing where if your tokens are less than 200k, the input pricing is $2 and output pricing is $12. If the tokens are more than 200k, the price bumps to $4 per million input tokens and $18 per million output token. But surpassing all of these models, Opus 4.5 is the most pricey. It natively has 200k context, but it is able to extrapolate to 1 million context. But natively it has 200k context. If you look at the pricing, it is $5 per million input tokens and $25 per million output tokens. So clearly Opus 4.5 is the priciest model, and GPT 5.2, even after the price increase, is now comparable to Gemini 3 Pro, only in the case when the context is less than 200k. Having said that, what about their knowledge cutoff? So if you head over to platform.openai and you look for GPT 5.2, you can see the knowledge cutoff is mentioned over here. It is August 31, 2025. I do think that this is the model which has the latest knowledge cutoff. Having said that, Gemini 3 Pro, you can see the knowledge cutoff is January 2025, and for Opus I had to do a bit of searching in the documentation, but I found it. It is May 2025. So out of the three, GPT 5.2 has the latest knowledge, is going to be more aware of the latest models and whatever is happening, being more helpful. And I actually personally find knowledge cutoff a thing that makes talking to these models easier. Enough talk, let's get into the comparison. So as you can see, I have set GPT 5.2 to extra high reasoning effort. So this is a new setting that has come into OpenAI's API. So this is a recent reasoning effort that was introduced with GPT-5 Codex Max, and now it seems that it is available for every model in OpenRouter. We have set it into extra high, and we have removed any kind of custom prompts from GPT 5.2. Similarly, Gemini 3 Pro is in thinking level high, which is the maximum available at AI Studio. Similarly, for Opus 4.5, we have set the reasoning effort to extra high so that we are not compromising on tokens. Okay, so for this first prompt, I want to try something different. Let me first send this prompt to all three models and then I'll explain what it is actually. So here you can see you have the whole prompt. The front-end capabilities of these models are becoming better and better. Why not make an educational video with the help of HTML, CSS, and JS? Here we are asking them to create a life cycle of a star, showing the birth of a star, how it grows in size and finally explodes in the form of a supernova, educating us about the life cycle of a star. So let's wait for their responses. You can see all three models are thinking or generating. Okay everyone, we have the responses from all three models. Let's start off with Opus 4.5. So let's preview this in a new page. Before I preview this, let me tell you one thing. There might not be any sound, so I'll add some background music and if possible some vocals as well, but these vocals or music is not generated by the model. Please be aware of it. So let's preview this.
The life cycle of a star. In the vast emptiness of space, clouds of hydrogen and helium drift in silence. Gravity, the architect of cosmos, begins to draw these particles together. A stellar nursery forms, a nebula of swirling gas and cosmic dust. Under immense pressure, nuclear fusion ignites. A star is born. The newborn star enters its main sequence, fusing hydrogen into helium. For billions of years, it burns steadily, a beacon in the darkness. But all stars must age as hydrogen depletes the core contracts and heats. The outer layers expand and cool. The the star becomes a red giant. For massive stars, fate has one final act, a cataclysmic supernova. In a blinding flash, the star explodes with the light of a billion suns. What remains collapses into infinite density. A black hole is born. A point where space and time bend, where even light cannot escape.
That was indeed nice. If we note some things, we don't see the gas particles coming close together because they are gas clouds, so we should see them, and that was not there. We directly see the sun. Here you can see the text down there says the outer layers expand and a red giant is born, but here the supernova has already happened, and now you can see it says about supernova and the black hole is already forming. So the video is kind of moving forward. The text is not in sync with it. All in all, it is good and educational. Let's move on to Gemini 3 Pro. So we'll preview this in a new page.
It begins in cold, dark void. Gravity pulls dust and gas together into a swirling nebula. As pressure builds, the core heats up. Nuclear fusion ignites. A star is born. It shines brightly in the main sequence phase for billions of years. Eventually, the fuel runs out. The star expands massively into a red giant. The core collapses under its own gravity. Supernova. A violent explosion expels matter into the cosmos. What remains is a point of infinite density, a black hole.
Okay, so that was awesome. Let's replay the video and let's see what happened. So first of all, you can see we don't see the gas clouds actually coming together and slowly forming a bulb or a knot kind of thing. We directly see the sun in front of us. Also, if you look at the sun, it is less detailed than Opus 4.5, I have to say that. And if you look at the supernova as well, it doesn't look that good. Now the black hole as well it's not that good. It is just a circle with some lines. It is a top view, I do understand that, but it is kind of a basic view. Anyways, let's move on to GPT 5.2 extra high. So let's see.
The life cycle of a star begins in darkness, where gravity quietly gathers matter. A nebula swirls, hydrogen and helium drift, collide, and slowly clump together. As the core compresses, it heats up until nuclear fusion ignites. A star turns on. On the main sequence, the star stays stable for eons, fusing hydrogen into helium. When core hydrogen runs low, the core contracts and the outer layers expand into a red giant. In massive stars, the core collapses, then a supernova blasts heavy elements into space. If the remnant is dense enough, it becomes a black hole, a region where not even light escapes.
See, there we have it. Let's review it. So here you can see the first thing that we notice is the clouds are actually coming close, and you can see small blob kind of forming and it is increasing in size, and eventually a star is getting born. I do also personally like how the sun looks. You have its clouds, you have clouds kind of revolving around it. If it's a newly formed star, so it should be there, and also the supernova looks very good. And I do also like the black hole that it has generated because it has the event horizon. One thing I do have to point out is the event horizon is not very aligned, so that is there, but it kind of looks good to me. So if we compare all three, I would say that the best was GPT 5.2, followed by Opus 4.5, and at last we have Gemini 3 Pro preview. So GPT 5.2 gets 3 points, Opus 4.5 gets 2 points, and Gemini 3 Pro gets 1 point. Let's move on to the next one. Next up, do you know the game Hill Climb Racing? Even I enjoyed it. Let's see if these models are able to recreate it in a web page. So let me send this prompt to all three models. You can pause and have a look at the prompt. Okay everyone, so let me show you something. Gemini is done with its generation, Opus 4.5 is done with its generation, whereas GPT 5.2 took a very long time to actually, think. and it has generated a lot of tokens, but turns out the reasoning just ended without giving me a response. I've seen this happen in OpenAI's playground as well, but the worst part is look at the usage. This was the recent run. The input tokens were 164 and the output tokens were 65,536 tokens. So you can see the cost has nearly went up to $1. And this is for one single run. And still we haven't got a response. So this is something you should be aware of. I mean, the extra high thinking is really taking up extra high bucks. Anyways, we'll do a retry. I shared this so that even you are aware of how this model behaves and stuff. Okay, everyone, we have the responses, but I have to set the reasoning effort to high in GPT 5.2 because I tried multiple times. In extra high setting, it was just thinking endlessly without giving a response, so I had to do it. Anyways, let's see what we have here. We'll start off with Opus 4.5, and if you preview this, okay, this is what we have. It looks like it is just an empty screen. We have some extra text on the top and bottom, so let's get rid of it. And yeah, still we have this. So nothing much to talk about. So clearly Opus has messed up here. We'll see if it's actually able to, improve its fixes, which was something that you guys were asking a lot, how it improves its code. Meanwhile, let's look at Gemini 3 Pro now. So we'll preview this in a new screen and we have a car. Okay, we are able to move ahead. That is nice, but it's kind of slow, not like the original game. Let's see if you are actually able to move over this bump. Okay, so I'm not able to move over the bump. So that's the issue. Also, when I'm moving back, the fuel is not depleting, which shouldn't happen. Whichever way the vehicle is going, it is using fuel. Okay, now it says out of fuel, drive again. So we'll have to fix this in Gemini 3 Pro as well. A small fix actually. It didn't completely mess up like Opus. Let's look at GPT 5.2 high. Let's paste this and we'll preview it. Okay, we have some audio. It is very faint, kind of a buzzing noise. But other than that, we don't see anything. We can understand that it's night and this is moon. But other than that, there is no land or anything. So let's give this feedback to all three models and we'll come up with the second iteration of these codes. This time I'll try with extra high. I hope when it comes to feedback, it doesn't take that much time. Okay, we have the updated responses, guys. Let's look at Opus 4.5. So let's preview this and okay, press space to start. It does seem like it is kind of working, I guess. It looks good, I have to say that. But it's just that it just gets crashed as soon as I land. So not a perfect implementation. Let's look at Gemini 3 Pro now. It was already good, so this time it should be even better. So we'll paste the code and we'll preview this and it looks good. Let's move ahead, and now the speed is nice. You can see I'm able to take the fuel and take the coins as well. The terrain also looks good. It is bumpy, and the looks are very close to the original game. I mean, we have to understand we are generating this in one single code and the models do have their limits. But one thing that we can clearly see is the vehicle is kind of stick with the ground. It is not toppling over like it is in the original game. One thing that I want to show you is you can see since I'm climbing a hill, my speed is actually very less. All those parts, getting the physics right is nice, but it's just stuck to the ground. Anyways, let's keep this aside and let's look at GPT 5.2. So this time around, I used extra high, for the following response, not for the original prompt, and it did give us a response. I hope it works. Okay, so we'll preview this in a new page, and okay, we have the vehicle. We do have audio, but it's just a hum, nothing else. You can see the vehicle has actually collapsed. It is not able to stand in itself. I'm hitting D, which is the throttle, but the vehicle is not moving forward. Gemini 3 Pro is nearly perfect, but I want to try one more iteration. Okay, we have the responses, guys, and this is going to be the final one. We are not going to do any more iterations. So let's start off with Opus. This is the game. You can see it looks very good. Let me try to control it. Hitting the front arrow, I mean the right arrow, and I'm also trying to hit D, which is mentioned, but I'm not able to move it front. If you look closely, we are actually able to lean forward and backward, but it is not moving front. We have given enough chances to Opus. It is a fail. Let's look at Gemini now. Okay, this is what we have. So now you can see it is actually, I think, toppling over. If I give full acceleration, it just topples over. It says next snap. So I'll have to be very careful with it. Let's try to play this. Okay, so the acceleration is actually too high, but that is something that can be fixed. All in all, it is a very good response. Right from the start, Gemini has been doing very good. Now let's look at GPT 5.2. So we'll paste the code and okay, that looks kind of good. Let's see if it actually works. Okay, it is, I think, kind of moving forward. The wheels are spinning, but nothing else is happening. So again, a bad response. So between the three, it is very clear Gemini 3 Pro is the best one. So initially, All three were not able to do it, but after 3 iterations, Gemini 3 Pro was able to do it. So we'll just give 1 point to Gemini 3 Pro, but we'll give 0 point to rest of the models because they were not able to give us a working response. Let's move on to the next one. So this should be fairly easy for them. Here we are asking them to create a flight simulator game, a 3D flight simulator game with chase camera view. Let's see what they do. Okay, we have the responses. Let's start off with Opus. So we'll preview this in a new page and let's see what we have. Okay, we do have a flight and we are able to move it here and there. We do see the mountains and water bodies, clouds as well. Let's see if we are actually able to, go through a cloud. So let me try this and I think we should be able to go through it. Okay, that was awesome. So I think the water bodies are not generated very nicely. You can see it is just kind of white dots. If you look at the mountains, even that is not that real. I mean, it is good. Don't get me wrong, but it looks kind of. I hope you get what I mean. We have the option to actually boost. So if I hit space, it says afterburner and it's going to boost the flight. You can see awesome. Let's try to change the view. So you can see this is kind of a chase camera view. Let's try the afterburner and you can see we are moving fast. If you look closely, you can actually see the tires as well. Let's change the view. Now you can have a look at the flight actually. You can see the cone is kind of inverted. It shouldn't have been like that. You can see the engines and the tires and stuff. It looks awesome. It is absolutely awesome what we are able to build with these models nowadays. So kind of a good response. Let's keep this aside and let's try Gemini 3 Pro. So we'll preview this and it says take to the skies. I do like this circling kind of view before the game starts. Let's click to start and let's play. And okay, the mountains are very well defined, the water bodies as well. Let's see if we're actually able to go through the cloud. Okay, we are able to go through the cloud. So one thing that I can say is the game feels a lot smoother compared to Opus. You can see it is very agile. So you can see I'm able to, swirl around. I wish I could have a zoomed view of the flight. Let's go close to the mountains. Have a look. It looks awesome, isn't it? So Gemini did what we asked exactly. Nothing more, nothing less. Usually what Gemini does. Let's keep this aside and let's try GPT 5.2. So we'll preview this and okay, we do see a black screen. At the bottom it says it needs internet for 3.js. We do have the internet and I think usually 3.js CDNs load in HTML viewer. But anyways, we asked it to, generate everything all by itself, but it couldn't. So it's already a fail for GPT 5.2, but I just want to give it a chance, without any 3.js CDN files, how it does. Okay everyone, so we have got the code from GPT 5.2 and I tried it in HTML online viewer, I tried it in CodePen, but it's not working and I've verified with ChatGPT that yes, it is a code problem and not an environment problem. So GPT 5.2 was not able to do it. So if you now look at the scores, I think Gemini 3 Pro gave us the best response. So it is 3 points for Gemini 3 Pro, followed by Opus getting 2 points, and to GPT 5.2 I am going to give 0 points because it was not even able to get it working. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this is going to be interesting. This is going to show the website development capabilities of these models. Let me send this prompt and then I'll explain you what is it all about. So as you can have a look at the prompt, we are building a website called Journey to the Core. So it is going to be a scrollimation and animation based website where you scroll and it's kind of a video that is playing in front of you. You might have seen many websites like these, which are not like container based websites, having boxes here and there. Instead, as you scroll, things reveal and objects move here and there and stuff. So at least that's the idea. Let's see what these models come up with. Okay, everyone. So I've tried 2 times again with extra high thinking, but it seems to be not working at all. This is a different prompt still. So from this point on, I am going to use reasoning effort as high. To keep things fair, I'll do it the same with 4.5 Opus as well. What we can do is if there is any subsequent question, then we can use extra high to see if it actually generates a response. Let's look at Opus 4.5. So let's preview this in a new page. Journey to the core. You can see hot air balloon, clouds, birds flying. Awesome. We have the sun, the stars and stuff. And here you can see the depth. It is currently saying as 0 kilometers. Scroll down to descend into earth. So let's scroll down, and if we scroll down, you can see it says the surface and how beautiful it looks. You can see these butterflies, flowers, grass, trees and stuff. I'm not sure about the depth calculation because it says 693 kilometers, but we are still on the ground, I guess. Anyways, let's scroll down and now we are going to see the soil, a hidden world of decomposition and renewal. Ancient artifacts and countless creatures call this darkness home. The depth is around 10 meters, whereas this counter over here, you can see it says 1464 kilometers. So we can kind of ignore that. You can see various worms and other creatures down here. Let's scroll down, and this is the crust. I think this is meant to be the coal, and there are other stuffs that I'm not aware of. Let's scroll down, and we have come to the upper mantle. We have rocks over here. You can see the colors have changed. Let's scroll down further. It shows lower mantle. Crushing pressure transforms minerals into exotic forms. Let's scroll down. Here you can see diamond formation zone, here where diamond forms, and we can see a rhombus which is kind of glowing. Let's scroll down further. It says the outer core, and you can see everything is kind of bright yellow. You can see the temperature over here as well. Let's scroll down further. If we scroll down, we have the inner core. It says you have reached the Earth's center. So I do like this response, specifically, these plants and things happening and the hot air balloon and stuff. A nice response from Opus. Let's keep that aside and let's try Gemini now. Okay, so it says journey to the core. I don't like this container kind of stuff. We didn't want anything like that, but we do have clouds in the background. You can see it's a blur, but we are able to see the clouds. Let's scroll down. Okay, it says the crust. You can see there is a clear section, whereas in Opus response it was a gradient. It looks good. It represents the soil. We do have some rocks. Let's scroll down further. This is the mantle, and here you can see bubbles kind of things forming. Let's scroll down further. This is the outer core denoted by stripped lines, and it says the inner core. So comparatively, this generation is very simple. You can see Gemini is now acting kind of lazy, which is a core behavior. You can work around it. We are testing same prompt. So in this scenario, Gemini 3 Pro didn't give a very good response compared to Opus actually. So let's look at GPT 5.2 high. We can't test extra high because I've already explained it. So now you can see this is the bird kind of implementation. These are looking like birds, but not exactly that. Again, you can see a lot of containerization happening over here and stuff. Let's scroll down. If we scroll down, this is what we see. I think this represents the roots. If we go down, we do see rocks and maybe bubbles rising. If we scroll down further, we do have minerals and stuff. Let's scroll down further. Okay, this is kind of problematic. What is this rectangle meant to be? So these stuff over here were not generated correctly. So I think the best was from Opus, followed by Gemini, and then followed by GPT 5.2 high. So we'll give 3 points to Opus 4.5, 2 points to Gemini 3 Pro, and 1 point to GPT 5.2 high. Let's move on to the next one. So let's build a temple run or subway surfers kind of game. We can't directly mention that, but here we are trying something different. Let me send the prompt, then I'll explain you. So you might have seen the movie Tron or Tron Legacy. So we are going to have that kind of style, cyberpunk kind of style, and we are building a runner game. Let's see who gives us a better response. Okay, everyone, we have got the responses from all three models. Let's look at Opus 4.5 first. So we'll preview this. It says neon velocity. Let's hit start run. Okay, I'm not able to see anything. It's a black screen. I think it is playing actually because I'm able to hear sounds, but nothing is happening. So let's keep this aside and let's try Gemini now. So it says neon override initiate start, initiate system. So let's click this. Okay, so I'm not able to click it, guys. It is not working. So this needs to be fixed. Let's look at GPT 5.2. Okay, it says neon rush. Let's hit start and it looks awesome. I mean, the colors are kind of getting faded, but you can slightly see obstacles, right? So it is a working response, but I think there can be a lot of improvement. So since it's a subsequent response, I'll change it to extra high and do the same with 4.5 Opus as well. Let's come up with the second iteration. Okay, everyone, we have the updated responses. Let's look at Opus 4.5 now. It says neon velocity. Let's hit start run. And now you can see we are able to see the game. So we also have sound. So I'll try to enable sound. Just give me a minute. Let's run this and you can see we also have power-ups, I guess. So this is phase, this is magnet, and you can see all the power-ups are getting closer to me. Let's try again. Okay, so we have slow-mo as well. We have one more power up. This is double. Let's take one more power up. It's phase. We can also jump. Okay, so it was a game over. I was able to get to a top speed of 3.5x and a max combo of 15. All in all, it's a nice response. Let's look at Gemini 3 Pro preview. So it says neon runner and you can see this, TikTok glitch kind of effect. Let's initiate and okay, you can have a listen at the audio. The audio is awesome and the game is actually kind of hard. I'll have to say that. The game is kind of hard, guys. I don't know if there are any power-ups or not. I do like this gliding kind of effect that we have over here. This is most likely a vehicle and let's see how far I can go. So it is comparatively a very hard game actually, guys. All in all, it is nice. I do like the animations and glitch effect and everything happening over here. If you talk about more functionality, then you can see Opus was better. Now it's time for GPT 5.2 high. Previously it was working. We had some contrast issues and most likely it is fixed, I guess. Let's hit start, and this is the game that we have. Even this looks good, but you can see it is not very clear. The obstacles and the glow effect actually is very high. The white glow effect, it is very high, and I'm not able to see very clearly. If we get rid of that glow effect, I think it is very nice. You can see I'm able to play. If we didn't have this glow effect, I really believe that the game would have been better. All I have given is a good response. If I have to do a comparative analysis, I will say that I would give 3 points both to Opus and to Gemini 3 Pro, and 2 points to GPT 5.2 High. So in this next question, we are creating an Angry Birds like game. Not exactly that. In the prompt, we don't mention Angry Birds, but we'll have obstacles. We have kind of a slingshot which we can release and hit those obstacles, something like that. Let's see what we get from these models. So we have got the responses. Let's look at each of them, starting off with Opus 4.5. So let's preview this, and okay, you can see the tower immediately collapsed. Let's see if the slingshot works. So it says power over here. Let's have full power, and if I release it, it goes over there. It is nice, but the tower is collapsed by itself. Whenever I try to build anything like this, I usually find issues like this. Let's try Gemini 3 Pro now. So again, you can see the tower kind of collapse. Let's release the ball. It's more like a square actually. In the beginning it is like circle. When I release it, it's a square. In Gemini's response, I think there is no land actually. So again, even Gemini 3 Pro needs improvement. Let's try GPT 5.2. So again, here as well, the tower doesn't stay. Let's try to pull the slingshot. If I pull the slingshot, you can see the ball never, gets released from the slingshot, which shouldn't happen. You can see I release the ball and it is staying with the slingshot. So initial impressions, I think comparatively Opus response was better, but we have to do another iteration over it. As said, we'll be switching to extra high settings both for GPT 5.2 and for Opus as well. And let's come up with the second iteration for all three models. Okay, let's look at the responses. Starting off with Opus 4.5, you can see the platform is standing. We have the ball. Let's release it. So I'll give full power, and if I release it, it is not going that far. Let me try it with 100% power. We'll do 100% power, but I'm trying 100% power, but it's not going far. I mean, everything was working. Previously, the slingshot power was absolutely perfect, but now it's kind of wrecked. This kind of reminds me of Ilya's recent interview where he said that, LLMs trying to fix their second bug will reintroduce previous bugs. And I see that happening over here. Anyways, let's try Gemini 3 Pro now. Let's paste the code and we'll preview it. Okay, we do have platform, but it collapses. So it shouldn't have happened like that. We said that the tower was collapsing and it shouldn't collapse, but it was not able to fix that issue. Let's move on to GPT 5.2. Let's copy the code and open up HTML viewer and paste it. So here you can see again we have platform which is getting collapsed. Let's see if the ball now gets released from the slingshot or not. So if we'll release the ball, okay, it gets released from the slingshot. That is nice. All of them need some kind of improvement. Let's come up with the third iteration. Okay, we have the responses from all models. Let's see, we finally see if everything is fixed or not. So we have Opus now. Let's try to pull the slingshot. Okay, now it is too much powerful. Let me try to reset the tower, and you can see if I release it, the whole tower gets collapsed in a single instance. So that shouldn't have happened. Let me try to hit the top. So even if I hit the top, everything gets collapsed. Anyways, it's at least working. So we'll keep this aside and let's try Gemini now. We'll paste the code and let's try. Okay, now the tower is staying still, and let's release the ball. If I release the ball, it goes and hit it, and you can see everything gets collapsed. So this time around, we'll try to hit the top to see actually if the tower kind of stays, the remaining tower kind of stays. Okay, I kind of overshoot it. Okay, again. Okay, so even if you hit the top, the whole tower gets collapsed. A similar kind of thing how it happened in Opus. Let's look at GPT 5.2. So again, I think you can see the tower is not standing. It is getting collapsed even before we hit it. The material quality looks good. We can see glass, wood and concrete. But yeah, comparatively it's worse. So between Opus 4.5 and Gemini 3 Pro, I think both gave a very good response. But it was in third iteration. So I'll give 1 point to Opus 4.5, 1 point to Gemini 3 Pro and 0 point to GPT 5.2. The reason is it didn't get the tower standing even after these many iterations. Let's move on to the next one. Now we are back to website design. Here we have to build a award-winning website for a botanical garden business named Susan Rose. So they have to get the aesthetic feel and persona of this business, and they have to build a single HTML file landing page for them. Let's see who is good in website design. Okay everyone, we have the responses. Let's start off with Opus. So this is Susan Rose, and you can see gradually the website reveals itself. The cursor is mapped to a circle. Let's scroll down to see what we have. You can see this strip going on over here with golden fonts and stuff. Gives a very good luxury feel. If we scroll down, this is I think a rose and a message from the founder of Susan Rose. If we go down, you can see SVG implementation of different kind of plants. If we move further, then we are greeted with the signature collection. I do like this section, completely black, and there is services text behind and looks very luxury. Then we have testimonial, we have the socials. If we scroll down, we see a very beautiful contact form. So everything looks good, but I have to say it's not very special. Nothing special is happening over here. Previous test, actually Opus was very good, but here I think it has given us a generic kind of response. Anyways, that will be decided when we see Gemini's response. So we'll copy this code, open up HTML viewer, let's paste that and let's preview it. Okay, it says beyond stem and you can see the rows kind of getting formed. Let's scroll down and let's see what we have. If I scroll down, you can see the rows is kind of getting tilted. We again have a ribbon kind of thing, cultivated elegance, and here you can see a very engraved behavior of Gemini 3 Pro. It doesn't like to have containers or borders. You can see everything, every text and stuff is not contained in a container or anything like that. So this is a native behavior of Gemini 3 Pro that I have observed. Let's scroll down and let's see what else we have. So if I move down, we see rare collection. I think the cursor is kind of mapped into nothing because I don't see anything. Anyways, let's scroll further. We have bridal architecture, interior, gifts, workshops and stuff. All in all, it is very good. I have to say the design aspect, it feels very fresh actually, because I've been very much habituated with Opus models and the kind of designs that they have. Gemini 3's response feels very much fresh. Let's look at GPT 5.2. If we preview this, so this is the website that we have. The rows that has been generated looks stunning, but one thing that I see over here is a lot of containers. I do see many people liking it, but personally I don't like it that much. Anyways, let's scroll. You can see we have different sections and plants and stuff like that. Let's scroll further. You can see this section over here looks good as well. I'll have to say this looks more like a generic website and there's nothing wrong in it. And we do have the contact form and all that stuff. So all in all, a very good response from GPT 5.2 as well. I actually used the extra high setting this time and it worked. So if I have to pick the winner, personally I would pick Opus. The website feels more complete, has more aspects to it, followed by Gemini and then GPT 5.2. This time I'll give Opus 3 points, Gemini 2 points, and I'll also give 2 points to GPT 5.2 because the website is not that bad. It is complete and it is just a different style that is very more, normal and generic, but it is not wrong, is it? Now let's move on to our final web-based question. I mean, things that are related to design, website development, and animations. After this, we'll be doing one music generation, and after that, we'll be finally moving to Python-based problems. So to end website design, we'll be doing a very good animation, an animation of a rocket launch and landing. There is not going to be any kind of controls or anything like that. It is just going to be a visual treat. That is at least what I'm expecting. I'm again trying GPT 5.2 with extra high settings. Hopefully it works. If not, I'll switch. Anyways, let's send the question to all three models and let's see what we are treated with. Okay, we have the responses and I think we are here for a treat. Let's start off with Opus 4.5. So you can see it says Falcon Heavy. We have the rocket and the launch station and stuff. You can see the rocket is now launching. Okay, now it's saying descent is happening and now it says touchdown, landing confirmed. But we don't see the rocket actually landing and stuff like that. I do think the camera is kind of zooming into the rocket now from the sky and you can see it says landing confirmed, but where is the rocket? We don't see it. So that didn't happen that perfectly. Anyways, let's keep that aside and let's try Gemini 3 Pro now. So we'll preview this and it is kind of a similar response. You can see the rocket, the landmass and stuff, and you can see the rocket is lifting off. We don't see the atmosphere around us. It is just a black screen. Now you can see this view is absolutely awesome. You can see a top down view. Now I think the rocket is kind of approaching. I hope it doesn't end into an endless loop where the altitude is just getting reduced and nothing is happening. Currently since it is reducing, I hope something happens when it is close to maybe 200 or 100. Okay, so we are somewhere around 100 meters now and initially I was thinking that nothing is going to happen, but you can see triangle kind of stuff stuff appearing over here. Maybe it's mountain. Okay, I do think it is most probably the launch station. It looks absolutely awesome, like, very similar to how we see the videos from SpaceX. Now the rocket is coming very close to the ground. Absolutely awesome. I mean, what kind of educational videos can be created through it? Just imagine. And how learning can be made interesting. So it says touchdown confirmed. A very nice response. Now it's time for GPT 5.2. So we'll open up HTML viewer. Let's paste that. Let's see what we have. So I do see a black screen. Nothing is happening. So it is already a fail. But anyways, I want to set it to extra high and see if it's actually able to fix its issue. Okay, everyone, we have a response from GPT-5 extra high. Let's preview this. So you can see the rocket. The launch pad looks amazing and it gets launched and then it comes back. The design of the rocket is very nice, I have to say that, but the overall animation was not that detailed. I mean, it just went up and came down. I mean, that is what simply happens, but it doesn't have that dramatic feeling that Gemini had. Also, we gave it one more chance compared to others. So for this particular question, I'm going to give 3 points to Gemini 3 Pro and 2 points to Opus and GPT 5.2 extra high. I mean, I technically should not give it, but it is already being a lot behind, so we'll give that benefit of doubt. So before we move on, let me tell you about a very important thing. Whenever we prompt LLMs, we need context. Just saying, build me this, build me that is not going to work. The models need to understand what you actually want, and for that, you need long prompts. But who is going to type very long prompt? It's not going to be that easy. What if we could talk instead of typing? That is where today's sponsor, Lazy Typer, comes in. It is a completely free software that makes prompting models or creating notes very easy. You can see they have 12 AI speech models, including 5 which are fully local. All the local ones are absolutely free, and some of the 12 models which are API based are absolutely free as well. When I was actually prepping for this video, I was using this application, and you can see this was the prompt that I actually sent to Gemini 3 Pro. I mean, I can't even imagine writing this much long prompt, but it was very easy for me because I use this application. Let me show you how to set it up. So when you head over to the website, the link will be in the description. You can free download the software. When you are done with the installation, you will be prompted to download models, and you will be guided how to do things. Let me tell you the specific settings that currently I am using. So you have to head over to speech models, and here you can actually select Grok Whisper. This is one of the best that is actually working for me. You will have to set up an API key, which is absolutely free. If you click get API key, you will be directed to the website, and there you can get an API on the Grok website. Let me show you that. If I head over to get API key, you can see I've been directly directed onto the web page. You can create an API key over here, and you can copy that and paste it over here. And after that, you can actually test. So let's do a test. This is a test of the Lazy Typer speech to text application. And you can see in seconds, we have the text over here. There are various local models. You can see these are the local models that you have. You can use the Whisper Large V3 Turbo as well. This is completely local and does sufficiently good, but the rate limits on Grok are generous, so I'm using that. Once you have done that, there are a few specific settings that I would suggest you to have enabled. For firstly, if you don't want to send any kind of analytics data, this is anonymous data, the recording duration, the languages that were used, and not the actual data. If you don't even want to send that, you can disable usage analytics. Next thing what you want to do is keep microphone active. You have to head over to system in settings and disable this, so that when you're not using this application, the microphone will not be active, and you will be rest assured that okay, nothing is getting recorded or anything like that. So let's do one thing. For this next prompt, which is going to be music generation, we'll be using this application. Let's see how good is it. By the way, in hotkeys, you can select which hotkey to use. By default, there are two modes, hold mode and toggle mode. I've selected to toggle mode. If you select hold mode, you have to click option and tab, and you have to keep that pressed, so that the recording happens. If you release it, then the recording is done. When you keep it in toggle mode, you can hit option and tab and just leave it, and the recording will continue up until the point you again click option tab. So I personally like the toggle mode. Having said that, let's see how good is it. So let me recite the next prompt. The prompt is, in a single HTML file, I want you to create a procedural music generator. I don't want to play an MP3 file. I want the code itself to synthesize epic orchestral style music in real time. While the music plays, I want to see a beautiful visualization scrolling across the screen, sync to the melody. The audio engine and the visuals must all be contained in this one code block. Don't hold back. If you can make the music sound complex and the visuals look stunning, please exceed my expectations. So let's see. And you can see in no time we have the prompt. So let's send this to all three models and let's see what we get. Okay, we have the responses. So let's start off with Opus. We'll paste the code. Let's see what we have. Be patient when you're hearing it. That was indeed awesome. I really loved it. I mean, it just felt ethereal and, epic. Let's move on to Gemini 3 Pro then. Copy the code. We'll open up HTML viewer. This time we'll preview this and let's hear it. Okay, it does seem like a looping sound. It is nice, I have to say that. It is indeed nice, but maybe not as good as Opus was. Now it's time to listen to GPT 5.2. Let's have a listen. Let's start this. I think we can even change the tempo. So all in all, it is good. Music is subjective, but if I have to score, I'll give 3 points to Opus 4.5, 2 points to Gemini 3 Pro, and 1 point to GPT 5.2, high or extra high, whatever you want to call it. With that, now we are going into Python-based problem. And I do have some interesting questions that are a bit too complex, rather than generating a snake game. So here in this prompt, we are asking them to build a professional grade image compressor tool. So you might have used this kind of tools, online. You upload your image and the image gets compressed, the file size gets reduced. So they have to build a complete application like this in a single Python code. I was able to do this previously. Personally, when I needed it, I did it with Opus 4.5. Let's see if it's actually able to recreate it and if the other models are do it as well. So let me send this prompt and let's see what they come up with. Okay, we have the code from all three models. Let's start off with Opus 4.5, which I highly hope that it will work. Anyways, we'll improve it if it doesn't. Okay, this looks awesome. Pixel Press Pro. You can see the whole UI looks absolutely insane. So it says drag your images over here. And you can see this folder animation is absolutely awesome. So let's select an image. So we have this image over here where, the chat GPT handle is actually teasing the code named garlic model. This is, I think, if I'm not wrong, around 12 MB in size. So we'll select this image. We'll select this image and you can see the image has been opened. We can select the quality level. By the way, we have day and night mode, but it is not working. So we'll select quality as medium and you can see it is set to 60%. Let's compress the image. So I've hit compress. So I'm not not sure if it's actually compressing or not. You can see it says files in queue, and there is one file in queue. So guys, I don't see anything happening, so maybe it needs some improvement. Anyways, let's look at Gemini now. Actually, Opus previously was able to do it with slightly different prompt. Okay, so Gemini straight up gives an error. So we'll have to share this error with Gemini, I guess. So this is where actually OpenAI models can kind of catch up, because they are kind of good in, they are kind of good in this mathematical calculations and compression like stuff. I hope you get what I mean. So let's run this, and okay, it didn't work. So all three were not able to work. Opus didn't give an error, but it didn't give an output as well. So we'll do the second iteration. Okay, it seems that we have the updated responses. Let's have a look. Starting off with Opus. It was already running in Opus. It is just that when we were trying to compress the images, we were not able to see that. So we'll set the compression settings to medium, and let's hit compress all images. Okay everyone, so I've tried to get it working, but it is not working. So there is no hope over here. Let's see if Gemini 3 Pro has any luck. We'll paste the code and we'll run it. Okay, we finally do see a UI with Gemini 3 Pro. Select images to compress. So okay, PNG images are not supported, I guess. I mean, it is not even accepting JPEG images. So what am I supposed to send then? I mean, I don't know. If you don't support even JPEG or PNG, then what are you going to compress? So we'll keep this aside and let's try GPT 5.2 then. We'll paste the code, we'll run it. Okay, this seems to be a very sophisticated UI. Okay, drop images over here. Can add files. So okay, we are able to select PNG images. When it comes to GPT 5.2, we have added the image. We have sliders for quality. We have different output formats. We can select JPEG for, okay, JPEG is selected. We can select some preset: gentle, balanced, aggressive. So we'll select balanced. Then let's hit compress and save. So it is asking where to save. We'll save it in the desktop. It is saying it's working, and it says it's complete. Let's actually check if anything was saved. Okay, an image was saved. Let's look at the size of this image. So it says it is 2 MB on the disk, whereas the original image was 12 MB. And let's look at the quality. It does seem to be of a decent quality. Nothing much is lost. So yes, GPT 5.2 got it right. So GPT 5.2 gets 2 points, and other two models, Opus 4.5 and Gemini 3 Pro, both get 0, because both were not able to give us a working response. Let's move on to the next one. You know what? We have tried these many games in HTML, CSS, and JS. Why not try in Python? So we are going to create a space shooter game. You might have seen, a small triangle kind of thing that shoots in various directions and kind of hits the obstacles. So that is kind of the game that we are going to build over here, and let's see how good they are. Okay everyone, we have the responses, and Opus actually gave a very very long code and gave it in pieces. So I had to stitch them, and I've pasted the code over here. It is nearly how much? 1962 lines of code. So let's run it and let's see what we have. Okay, this does seem to be a very good shooter game, and it actually has audio. So let me actually enable it. Let's run it again, and okay, so here you can see we are able to shoot these obstacles. We get power-ups. It actually looks kind of cool, if I'm being honest. We have a power-up, I guess. It says shield is active. You can see we have bigger obstacles as well over here. Okay, now you can see we have got two kind of laser lights, or whatever you want to call it, is coming out. Okay, now I am in wave 2. So the game is actually getting complex now. Maybe I was wrong. It was wave 6, I guess. You can see it's getting actually a bit clumsy and a bit difficult. Now wave 7. Okay, I'm losing lives. Now you can see the speed has been increased. This reminds me of my childhood. You can see now there are a lot of obstacles, and it is getting very difficult to actually play. I mean, it's full of obstacles over here. Just you can see how many obstacles we have over here. It's very okay. So it's a game over. An absolutely awesome game. It was a complete game. Let's look at Gemini 3 Pro now. Gemini 3 Pro is up to a very good competition. So Gemini 3 Pro has generated just 354 lines of code. It tries to be very efficient, and they have mentioned it in their blog post as well. The model doesn't want to, generate long responses. Okay, this actually looks better. The visuals are actually very nice. I mean, the trails look awesome, and we have that shake effect. Okay, system failure. So comparatively it's R, and it looks good. It's a different kind of design. It is less sophisticated, but whatever design it has implemented, it looks good. It's time for GPT 5.2 now. So we'll paste the code and we'll run it, and this is what we see. Okay, let's restart. So I'm not sure what I should make of it. It doesn't look like space to me. it is just blobs of circle. So there is nothing much to talk about. So again, Opus and Gemini gave us a very good response, but personally I liked Opus response. It was actually more fuller. So I'll give 3 points to Opus, 2 points to Gemini, and 1 point to GPT 5 point. Okay, so in this next question, they have to write a Python code where they show real-time fluid simulation. So you might have seen many screen wallpapers or live wallpapers on phones. When you touch on the phone and kind of scroll here and there, you see fluid animations. So we want something like that. Let's see what we get. So we have the responses. Let's see what we have got. Starting off with Opus. Let's run this. Okay, I think that crashed. So that didn't work. That was a fail. Moving on to Gemini 3 Pro. We'll paste and we'll run it. Okay, so we do have something running. You can see it is kind of fluid simulation. Not that good, but it's at least something. Anyways, let's keep this aside and let's try GPT 5.2. So I've pasted the code, let's run it. And okay, this is what I'm talking. It looks absolutely awesome. What an awesome generation. You can see the fluid movement. This is what I'm talking about. OpenAI models. I mean, you saw it was good in image compression. You are seeing that it is good in fluid simulation kind of stuff. Are you getting my point? These kind of stuffs is what I kind of try to call backend. Things which are mathematics heavy. And also GPT 5.2 got 100% on AIME, so its max is good. And if there is any algorithmic kind of problem in your code, then this model is going to be good. And you can see, anything that is not related to GUI and stuff, this model seems to be performing very good. We'll be talking about that in the conclusion. So if we talk about the scores for this question, we'll give 3 points to GPT 5.2, 2 points to Gemini 3 Pro, and 0 point to Opus 4.5. The reason is it didn't work. So in this next prompt, let's have some fireworks. So what they have to do is they have to show a spectacular fireworks display using Python script. Rockets launching from the bottom and going up, exploding and showing us beautiful fireworks. Let's see what we get. Okay, so we have the code. Let's start off with Opus. I hope we see something good. We don't see any kind of errors. Let's run it. Okay, we do have cities and actually we have sound. So let me actually enable sound so that even you can hear it. Yeah, let's run it again. You can see the city lights. It looks awesome. Okay, I think it kind of crashed. There were too many elements, I guess. Let me try it once again. This time we'll have a lot of elements, and as you can see, if we have a lot of elements, it kind of gets crashed. Anyways, that was nice. Let's look at Gemini 3 Pro now. We'll run this. Okay, so I think comparatively it's actually simpler. The fireworks animation does look good. It is what we asked for. And whenever you have a conversation with Gemini 3 Pro or you are coding with Gemini 3 Pro, this is something that you'll see. It will give you what you asked for. If you ask more, it will give you more. If you ask less, it will give you less. Anyways, it is what we asked for, but comparatively, I would say Opus was better. Let's look at GPT 5.2 now. So we'll paste the code and we'll run it. Okay. So not that great, I have to say. It doesn't look that good. So it is very clear who is the winner. We'll give 3 points to Opus 4.5. 2 points to Gemini 3 Pro and 1 point to GPT 5. And finally, we have come to the last question. We are going to create a music visualizer. So you have seen my previous videos on it. This prompt is slightly different, so hopefully we should see something better. Let's see who gives us a better response. Okay, we have the responses. Let's look at Opus now. We'll run the code. Okay, liquid chaos and stuff. Let's hit O to open a file and it didn't open. So we have an error. We'll copy this and keep it ready. If others are not able to do it, then we'll send for second iteration. Time for Gemini 3 Pro. We'll paste the code, we'll run it, and that didn't run as well. It is giving the same error. So we'll paste it, and time for GPT 5.2. We'll paste and we'll run it. Okay, so this time around we have got different error. So all were not able to do it in first chance. Let's do the second iteration. So let's see if things have improved with this update. Starting off with Opus, we'll run the code. And let's see. Okay, we have a visualizer. Let's open up a music. So this is very similar to the previous run which we had. Let's see if we can actually find any music. Okay, I think we have found the music. So you can see this, the music is kind of getting clipped. Maybe the voice is not audible, I guess.
Tell me how
Now
you
it should be audible.
feel. Is it real? I don't wanna over.
So you can see the audio is getting clipped.
Is it off a show? I don't know. Feeling like I'm on the brink of something beautiful.
I think that we are onto something and the animation might be good, but we have to fix this clipping issue. Anyways, let's look at other models as well. We'll try Gemini 3 Pro now. Let's run this. Okay, so it says drag and drop your audio file here and press enter. It would be better if there was a GUI. I'll just say that. So let Gemini actually generate. And I've also mentioned that, please don't make any other changes. So it should not make any other changes. Meanwhile, we'll run the code from GPT 5.2 and okay. GPT 5.2 now has the error that Claude models had previously. So we'll share this and we'll ask for the update. And with Opus, will say that the things are not smooth and the audio is kind of clippy. Let me use lazy typo for that. So your response was actually good. I did like the animations and stuff, but the music was jittery and it was getting stuck. Also, the animations also felt like they were getting stuck. So you have to work on the overall smoothness of the code. Everything else seems to be fine. Give me your complete updated code. And you can see the prompt is ready. Meanwhile, I think Gemini has given us the code. We should have a GUI. Okay, we have a GUI. You can see Gemini is very minimalistic. It doesn't give you any kind of interface or anything like that. We asked for a finder and it is giving us that. Nothing more, nothing less. So let's choose the music. Let's see if it actually plays. Okay, failed to load audio. We need num2. We need numpy 2. Instead, we have got num 2.1. So it is kind of an library issue. Let's see, we have the response from GPT 5.2. We'll paste the code and we'll run it and hopefully something should load up. Click N to load path. It says enter the full file path, then enter to load. So here also we'll have to mention that I want to use the browser, and meanwhile Gemini is done. Let's see. Let's choose the music. Hopefully it should work. Okay, we don't see anything, but in the beginning I actually saw something. Maybe the sensitivity is actually high. So we'll just say the sensitivity is high and particles are moving further. I do get what you are trying to generate, but I think the sensitivity is very high and the particles are moving very further, leaving empty black space in between. So please fix that and give me complete updated code. We'll send this to Gemini 3 Pro and okay, so we have got the code from Opus 4.5. Let's try this. We'll run it. Let's hit open and open up the music. Now it does feel smooth, but the animations, nothing much is happening. We'll wait for anything significant happen. You can see we have a circle in between and we have particles that react to it. We can increase the sensitivity, I guess. So now you can see it looks awesome. Maybe we decrease the sensitivity a bit. So now the base part is coming. We should see something. So it is kind of good, the particles animations and stuff. Let's look at Gemini. Let's run this. Let's see what we get. Okay, this is kind of different. We have a particles kind of animation. I'm not sure if it's actually reacting to the music. Let's see. Maybe it is reacting, but it is not very obvious. Okay. I do think that it is reacting, I guess. It is reacting up to certain extent, but it's not very obvious. It's time for GPT 5.2 now. We'll play this and we'll run it. Press N to open Finder and we have to find the file. Let's do it. We have selected the music and it crashed. Okay, it requires NumPy 2.1. So we have given chances to other models. We'll give chance to this model as well. I'm specifically asking not to make any other change, only fix this error so that we are not giving unfair advantage to GPT 5.0. We'll paste the code and we'll run it from GPT 5.2. Let's try to run the music. So I do see some patterns and particles, but it is mostly white. It is indeed reacting to music, but I do like the animation. The ball is actually very reactive, but rest of the things, the rest of the screen is not that reactive. So if you talk about which one is better over here, I would say Opus 4.5 is the best with 3 points. Rest both of them were kind of equal, so I'll give 2 points to both of them. Which one is better? Actually, I think we gave multiple tries to all three models. There were some dependencies and library issues, but other than that, there were errors in the code as well. So I'll give Opus 2 points and give Gemini 3 Pro and GPT 5.2 1 point each. With that, we are finally done with the testing. Let's get into the scores and conclusions. So I've prepared a table so that we can go through them one by one. First off, if you talk about the solar system educational video, GPT 5.2 actually did a very good job at it. Gemini on the other hand just gave a spiral in the name of a black hole. I personally preferred GPT 5.2. If we move on to hill climb racing game, here none of the models were able to do very good. Gemini 3 after multiple iterations was actually able to give us a good response, but other two kind of failed. And this seems to be a very good question. Other models are not able to do it. If you are able to do it, you will need multiple generations. One shotting this is kind of difficult. Moving on to the flight simulator game, here again Gemini 3 gives us an awesome response. Although Opus 4.5's flight was very good, but the environment and everything was very coherent in Gemini 3 and everything was smooth. GPT 5.2 on the other hand got a 0 because it was not able to finish the task. Talking about journey to core website, that website where we scroll and we gradually go towards the core. Opus 4.5's response was very nice, having an hot air balloon and butterflies and trees and stuff like that. A lot animated. Gemini 3 I don't think it is close to Opus 4.5, but it was better than GPT 5.2. So we gave a 2-point score to Gemini 3. Next up with the Tron Runner game. So the initial response was better with GPT 5.2, but with subsequent generations, Opus 4.5 and Gemini 3 both gave us very good response. That is the reason none of the models get a 0 over here. You can have a look at the score. Now hit the tower game. This is very analogous to the Angry Birds game. These three models were struggling a lot to actually keep the tower, upright instead of getting collapsed. But eventually, Opus 4.5 was able to do, and Gemini 3 was able to do. GPT 5.2 till the end was not able to do it. Now, when it comes to website design, Susan Roth's website, again, Opus 4.5 is known for website designs and stuff. The core website design, core front end designs and aesthetics. That is the reason it gets 3 points, followed by Gemini 3 and GPT 5.2. Next was the rocket launch simulation. I absolutely loved what Gemini 3 gave. I mean, that landing and the shaking animation and stuff was absolutely insane. The other two models didn't do that good. Next was music generation. It is kind of an offset from front end. It is something that many people talk about. So, and even I was interested. So I just wanted to test it. Even here, Opus 4.5 gave us a very beautiful melody. I mean, I was very satisfied with what I heard. Other two models did kind of a decent job. Next, we move on to Python based problems. Talking about the image generator, clearly the other two models were not able to do it. Opus 4.5, I do remember I just gave a very simple prompt. When I was facing the issues, I just said, give me a state of the art image compressor, nothing else, because I didn't have much time, and Opus 4.5 just did it. But here it was not able to do it. Gemini 3 also was not able to do it, but GPT 5.2 was able to do it and was able to do very good compression from 12 MBs to 2 MB. Moving on to the space shooter game, here Opus 4.5 actually gave us a complete response with various waves and power ups and stuff like that. Gemini 3 was also nice, but not as sophisticated as Opus 4.5. GPT 5.2, I don't know what it gave. I mean, I just gave it 1 point because it was working, but other than that, it wasn't that good. Talking about fluid simulation, clearly GPT 5.2 was miles ahead than Gemini 3 or Opus 4.5. Opus 4.5 didn't give us a good response. Gemini 3, I mean, it was just a basic response, and GPT 5.2, the animation was spot on. The fireworks animation, Opus 4.5 was more detailed. It has cities and buildings and stuff. Gemini 3 was also good. GPT 5.2 was, I mean, just throwing blobs of color, and I didn't like it. Talking about the music visualizer, finally, here also the model struggled a lot. None were able to give us an iteration, but eventually Opus 4.5's response was good, and other two models kind of did an okay job. So we have done a lot of questions, 14 questions. What is the conclusion? Let's look at the total front end score. Everything that is mentioned F over here was front end test. By front end, I mean HTML, CSS, JS, 3.js, anything like that. You can see Gemini 3 gets 16 points, Opus 4.5 gets 16 points, GPT 5.2 gets 10 points. So it is significantly behind the other two, but as it was in our previous video as well, where I compared Gemini 3 and Opus 4.5, both are very good, and it is a neck to neck. If you include music generation, maybe you could consider Opus 4.5, but if you go online, you can see many people actually praising what Gemini 3 and Gemini 3 Deep Think have generated. So it is kind of debatable. I can totally see many people preferring one or the other, but personally I think Opus 4.5 is not lazy and more akin towards coding. Talking about Python based problems, here Gemini kind of took a back step. Opus 4.5 got 8 points, GPT 5.2 also got 8 points, but you have to understand the scores are kind of very, we did 5 questions, so it is good, a meaningful amount. I know it's not as much as the front end questions, but I have increased the number a bit, and if you look at the scores, they are not very different, very close, 8 7 8. So where you have to use each model, you can see when it comes to Python, it is 8 points for 5.2 and 8 points for Opus 4.5 as well. But there is a difference. If you look at the scores, questions like fluid simulation, image generator, are things which are more related to physics and mathematics. And I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Things like that, GPT 5.2 and OpenAI models are very good. And many people actually face problems with this, designing algorithms. You might have seen the OpenAI live stream where it was, ranking in the second position in competitive coding and stuff. Building algorithms and stuff like that. GPT 5.2 is very good for it. But whenever it comes to GUI, Whether it's front end, whether it's back end, GPT 5.2 doesn't have a very good sense of it, and I'm talking about all OpenAI models at this point. Opus 4.5, regardless of any domain, does a good job. Gemini 3, on the other hand, hallucinates a bit, and that's the reason it was not able to create the image generator very correctly. That is the reason it just falls behind. But you have to understand, these are margin of error. All the questions that I've tested, if you test it again, maybe Gemini 3 will get it right. But Gemini 3, it was mostly popular for its HVG designs and front end aesthetic, and that is very visible with the score as well. So if you just total everything, I think the winner is very clear. It is Opus 4.5. No matter which domain you pick, it's backend, and by backend I mean Python, algorithm building, stuff like that. Or if you pick front end designs and stuff like that, Opus 4.5 is an all rounder, and it is very obvious the company is straight head on focusing on coding, and the results show that. But coding is not everything. As you guys actually love these videos, that's the reason I published this video first. But reasoning is also something that is important. So I'll test GPT 5.2. It will take some time. If I use extra high, I mean, I don't know how many tokens and credits I'll use up. So if you want to support me, you're very welcome. Having said that, I hope you liked this detailed comparison and you are able to make meaningful decisions on which model to pick, where to keep GPT 5.2 in your radar. If you found this video helpful, please to hit the like button and hype this video so that more and more people are able to actually see the reality. And make sure you check out Lazy Typer. The link will be in the description. It is a great tool and a sponsor for this video. With that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one.